who's joined us, and I hope some of you also tuned into our first session last month. We're also doing a third session of this series next month, so stay tuned for that. So this is part 2 of how to start an aerospace business with limited resources. And this session is going to focus on team building and consultant resources that are available to small businesses and entrepreneurs. Our speakers tonight are Daniel Connor and Craig Tomita, who will be talking about a couple different topics surrounding that the subject. So first off, just wanted to thank the IAAA Coastal Los Angeles section, who is also helping to sponsor this event. And then this event itself is put on and planned by the AIAA Young Professional Society for the Los Angeles, Las Vegas section. And so these two societies are always seeking new volunteers and new members. So if you're interested in joining or volunteering and getting more involved, feel free to contact either of the contacts on this slide. Or, you can really contact anyone at the society and they'll point you in the right direction. So for tonight, we have our first speaker is Daniel Connor, and he will be talking about transitioning from military to civilian role and entrepreneurial life, and touching on some topics of the importance of team building. And then after that, we're going to go to our second speaker, who's Craig Tomita. And he's going to be talking about some government subsidized consulting resources that are available for small businesses through what's called the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. And the nonprofit that he works for specifically is called Cmtc. And they provide these subsidized consulting services to the Los Angeles area. So after those two speakers go, if you would please hold all of your questions until the very end. We'll do a Q&A session with both speakers after they've both completed their talks. And then after that, we're going to also do another raffle for a couple of $50 Amazon gift cards. We are recording this session, and so if for any reason you need to drop off in the middle of it, we will send links to the recordings to all people who RSVP'd for the session. However, if you don't stick around until the end, you can't be in the raffle for the $50 Amazon gift card. So I encourage you to stay till the end, but if you can't, we will send you a recording of this session. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Daniel. And Daniel, if you want to go ahead and get started.
Sure, Brett. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Great. Hey, thanks very much for having me. So I really appreciate the opportunity, and it sounds like a fun group. A couple quick basic introduction notes. I am not an engineer by trade, although I did go to Cal Poly Pomona. I was a history and political science major, but I learned some amount of engineering through later experiences in life. I joined the Marine Corps and went to flight school after going to college. Ended up flying helicopters, CH-46. If you are familiar with that, it's like a Chinook except a bit smaller, and the Marine Corps has since done away with it in favor of the V-22. One of the really cool experiences I had, however, both in engineering but really just life experiences, was I had the great good fortune of flying Marine One back in DC. So I flew from 2005 to 2009 back there. One of the things I did was I was the VH-60 test director. So I would interface with the test pilots down at Patuxent River and kind of give them an operational understanding of what was needed from the squadron standpoint while they were trying to integrate the software and all the other things involved with the helicopter and the various changes we were trying to make. And we did end up installing the first glass cockpit in the aircraft. So it was a pretty fascinating opportunity. Typically, it's a pretty steady state organization. I got to do one of the really neat things there, which was bring an entire new cockpit into the picture. So with that, I've got some notes here that I had taken over the course of the last few days, And it dawned on me earlier today that these all fall into kind of two separate categories: know yourself and know your industry. But I first wanted to touch on how the commonalities between kind of military operations and any business operations. So military operations, I don't care if it's an amphibious assault or an alpha strike off an aircraft carrier, or even a presidential airlift, they all have something in common, and they share that in common with business operations. It's, focus on the basics, blocking and tackling, knowing your job, and knowing the very basics. Keeping the main thing, knowing the priorities within the program you're on, or the whatever you're doing. Just keep the main thing. And with that, find out what matters and what doesn't. One of the things I learned early and continue to implement in my life is getting a mentor. It is absolutely essential that you find somebody who's well respected and known in their field, and that you certainly respect, and just pick their brain. It doesn't have to be something official, any signed document, but get to know them and really find out how they got to where they are. Because if you don't have a roadmap for where you want to go, you're probably going to get lost along the way. You got to be. This is aviation, and I was writing an email a couple of days ago, and I took a few notes from that. We've been flying manned powered aviation for about 117 years now, and if you think about that history, it's a fairly well developed institution these days. But if you divide it into two 60-year periods, from 1903 until the 60s. We saw the advent of flight off of Kill Devil Hills. We went from that to biplanes with machine guns on them in World War I. We went to the massive production. Before that, we flew over the Atlantic. Then mass production of aircraft in World War II. You got into helicopters, jet age, the space age, and then finally landed on the moon. All of that within the span of one lifetime. I was born in 1969, and since then, I think the advancements we have made are really kind of biting at the margins. We haven't really we haven't had the kind of advancements we did in the first 60 years. And I think that's not necessarily a bad thing, in those first 60 years, a lot of people died doing things that other people, nowadays realize we shouldn't do that anymore. We haven't had a mid-air collision between two commercial aircraft in I don't know how long, and that's because of the policies and procedures that we've put in place, and we've learned from doing things the wrong way. So I like to bring that into the discussion, because it's not always just about the equipment. It's also about the way you use that equipment. And that kind of brings me to the current focus. I have a drone startup that provides services. I'm working with a couple of particular drones that I'm really looking forward to seeing come to market. But I wanted to draw the distinction between aviation industry and the Silicon Valley, kind of run at a rapid pace culture you have up there. Very much, a necessary pace for the things that happen there. But if you contrast that to aviation, again, I always tell people, if my little phone here, if an app doesn't work, I just put my phone down. If a component or a piece of an aircraft doesn't work, that's not always the best option. You've got to, in fact, it's not always an option at all. Sometimes you learn the hard way. So they can afford to be fast-paced in Silicon Valley. I think the industry that we're talking about here is not always that way, and nor should they be. Here's another really good example. The FAA has been talking about integrating drones into the National Airspace system for a good number of years now, and we've made very small progress. And people within the drone industry are really up in arms about it and talking about how slow they're moving, and how frustrated they are with the process. Well, I always kind of tell them, I think there's a pretty famous video out there of a drone taking a picture of a Southwest Airlines coming into McCarran Airfield in Las Vegas, looking down on it. And I think I think we can all assume, or we can safely say, that's a pretty irresponsible way to operate something in the air. So I always say, look, drones are great, but I also inhabit the back of a Southwest aircraft at times, and I'd really rather not interact with drones at that time. So keep in mind that there is a reason that the FAA operates slowly, because it's a completely new field. And I'm sure that some of the folks on this call are very interested in that field. And again, I'm in it. It's worth going into, but it does take time to get accepted. And I always say, disruption for its own sake. People in Silicon Valley love the term disruption. We're going to disrupt the industry or do this or that. Disruption for its own sake accomplishes absolutely nothing. What we really want to do is advance the ball in terms of engineering and design and human endeavors, realizing that it is going to have the effect of disrupting, and let's account for that. How do we make sure that the folks who have been disrupted are identified and accounted for? And how do we, engineering is a fascinating field of endeavor, but you got to take the bigger picture into account. Another point I wanted to make was this: if you're going to design and build aircraft, my highest recommendation would be to learn how to fly them. It's a blast, and I hope that a good number of people, everyone here is somewhere, has some experience in a Cessna 172 or something like that. But it really teaches you, again, keeping the main thing, aviating, navigating, communicating, in that order. There's no need to talk to somebody as you're plummeting to your death. You'd much rather be steering the aircraft away from any hazards, and then explain yourself afterwards. And really, you learn how to, what the important details that we've kind of just discussed are from an operational standpoint. Like all those things that as an engineer you're focusing on, you think, oh, this is absolutely essential. You get it in, and you put it into action, and maybe you realize it's not as important as I thought it was. But this little thing over here that I gave no mind to is absolutely essential to a successful flight or something like that. One of those guys in Patuxent River, which is where the Navy has its developmental tests and evaluation efforts, as well as its test pilot school. One of the legends down there is a guy named Sid Hatcher, and he would go so far as to explain to young guys and gals, the switch, the activation of a switch. Is it on the depress or the release? And then would go on to explain why it's important. But I think that level of detail is certainly something that a group of engineers can appreciate. We were just talking before everyone came aboard about trivia and little events that we'll go to on weeknights. I think there's probably a good number of people who do that here. And I don't have this in a clear, concise order, but one final point as we kind of grow up in our lives. the concept of leadership. Everyone wants to be a leader, or at least everyone is stressed that you should be a leader. And I think that is absolutely, it's a natural phenomenon that occurs when you gain seniority. But one of the things I wanted to stress, certainly to the younger crowd and the folks that are just getting started, is that with leadership, you also have to have followership and understanding the team dynamics without being the team leader, and understanding where your role is in a team or somebody else's role is in a team, and how that team goes on to build a better product. I think it's absolutely essential that groups like AIAA and the other ones that you were just mentioning exist, not only because of the information they provide, but that classroom environment clearly taught you a lot about engineering and what you need to know, but it doesn't necessarily teach you about how to lead people or programs and be a program manager. And those are skills that are absolutely essential to success in your career as you move forward. So my advice would be to go out and find leadership experience. Go out and join these groups and become involved. I don't care if you're just joining the softball team and you want to be the coach. You learn, bloom where you're planted, and go out and have fun with it. But take it all in as onboard it as lessons learned throughout the course of your life, so that when you do get to the level of leadership, you're able to kind of execute more effectively than you would otherwise, because it's an important aspect. It's we're not all as a pilot. I've got maybe 3,000 hours, but the vast majority of my time, even in flying billets, was not around flying. I was a maintenance officer. I was an operations officer. So, there are other, you're going to have to, flying or operating or engineering, actually coming up with these designs is but one piece of the puzzle. So I encourage everyone to kind of look at the big picture and enjoy the ride as you go along. And I don't know if it's still around. It's been a while since I've seen the poster originally, but it goes back to that that discussion between Silicon Valley and aviation. Aviation is itself not inherently dangerous, but to an even greater degree than the sea, it's terribly unforgiving of any carelessness, incapacity, or neglect. So always, as you're designing these things or looking at businesses, always pay attention to the details. It's absolutely vital to the success, and lots of folks have paid a big price over the years in figuring out what not to do. It's probably, those are lessons that you can take on board without doing it the hard way. So a little bit disjointed, Brett, but thank you very much. And let me know, I'll certainly stick around for any questions, everything from military career to, if you want to talk about entrepreneurship post-military, glad to.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Daniel. I really like how you highlighted the difference between Silicon Valley and entrepreneurship in aviation, because I think, pretty much anyone going out bright-eyed trying to start their own business is looking for their unicorn to be a $1 billion company after 8 to 10 years. And it's just a little harder to do in aerospace because of how things are moving. So I think it's good to make sure people have a clear understanding of that. I appreciate that.
Especially in the drone world, there's an awful lot of folks that see a lot of dollar signs that don't necessarily have the experience and the judgment to keep it a safe product.
Well, yeah, so thank you. If you have any questions for Daniel, if you can save them until the end, like he said, if any questions around his transition from military to civilian entrepreneurial life, or just about his experiences in general, you can save them to the end and we will make sure we get those questions answered. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Craig Tomita, who's our second speaker. So Craig, you can go ahead and share your screen if you've got slides and take it away.
Hey, can you see my screen?
Yep. Looks
Great.
good.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Craig Tomita. I am a client advisor, as Brett said, with Cmtc, which stands for California Manufacturing Technology Consulting. And a little bit of background on myself. I have only been with Cmtc for the last 16 months or so. And prior to that, I was 35 years in industrial automation, factory automation, robotics, and machine vision. I worked for the majors in the industry, Cognex for machine vision, Adept robotics. I was the director of medical products business for them. I was a vice president of a Japanese Cartesian coordinate robot company. I've also worked on the distribution side of industrial automation as well. So I have come over basically because it's not the money. Cmtc, as I'll go into later on in my presentation, it's rewarding to me because of our mission to help small and medium-sized manufacturers in the state of California. So that's a little bit about myself. Okay, and advance this. Oh yeah, okay. So I want to talk a little bit about who we are and what we do. That's basically it. So CMTC is based in Torrance, California. As I mentioned, our purpose is to serve the manufacturers of our state. We are what's called a Manufacturing Extension Partnership, or MEP. Now, the MEP network is a national network established by Congress in the mid-'80s. And every state in the Union, or in the United States, has one MEP. So our purpose is exclusively to help manufacturers. We don't, go out and help hairdressers and service providers and things like that. It's manufacturers, people that make things. So that's what CMTC and all MEPs functions are. As you can see from the bottom, the NIST logo, the MEP network functions under the National Institute of Standards and Technology, which is part of the U.S. Department of Commerce. But we are not a governmental agency. CMTC happens to be a nonprofit. And in other states, MEPs are often even colleges and universities. So this slide will show you some of the logos of the various MEPs nationally. You can see CMTC highlighted in yellow, but you can see that there's indeed one in every state. And actually there's 51 in the United States, with the 51st being in Puerto Rico. Now, I understand that some of you on this webinar are from the state of Nevada. This NVIE happens to be the MEP for the state of Nevada. And I thought I'd just add this slide so that if you had any desire to contact them, you see that Mark Anderson is the director of that organization, and there's the contact information. I've worked with the group myself prior to coming to CMTC, and the Nevada NVIE is a really well-run organization. Now, if you wanted to find out who the MEPs are in other states of the United States, you can go to that website, www.nist.gov MEP centers, and you'll come to this page here, and you simply would click onto the icon that corresponds to the MEP center that you're interested in, and you'll get all the contact information. But again, our mission is the same. We help the manufacturers in our respective states. Let me see. It's a statewide program. Our major function is, as I mentioned, to help the smaller and medium-sized outfits, because they're the ones that form the backbone of manufacturing in every state. Small and medium-sized manufacturers are approximately 98 to even 99% of the manufacturing in a given state. So, and they're the mom and pops that are 200 employees and less. So those are the kinds of companies that we are serving. So succinctly, we provide services to help our state's manufacturers to help them make them more profitable and more competitive. We also have actually a particular focus in small and medium-sized manufacturers, and in particular, women-owned, minority-owned, and veteran-owned organizations, and disadvantaged. Some areas of California are designated as disadvantaged areas, so we work with those areas as well. So we are what we want to be considered is the go-to organization for manufacturers. In my opinion, the reality is that MEPs are not that well known. I would say 8 out of 10 times when I speak to a manufacturer and I say, have you heard of CMTC, California Manufacturing Technology Consulting, or the MEP network, I get deer in the headlights look. And so I think we could do a better job of getting the word out as to what our function is and who we are. But we're working on it. And participation in webinars such as this to get the word out and making especially the younger crowd more aware of the assistance that's available is one of my reasons for participating in this event tonight. So what are some of the areas that we provide small and medium-sized manufacturers? I'm not going to read this one by one, but I just wanted to sort of give you a flavor for all the things that we can do. We can help people achieve various standards. And, in your industry, it would be the AS 9100 standard. We would provide training to help get that certification, ISO 9001, and the various other standards that you see there, NADCAP. And we also are very big into continuous improvement types of trainings, Lean Six Sigma, value, quality training and certifications. We keep going. Even PLC, how to work a PLC, additive manufacturing, the robot and cobot area that I come from. Cybersecurity is a big one. I would venture to say that that's one of the areas that is the hottest thing that we're helping small and medium-sized manufacturers with right now is the fear of ransomware and getting hacked. But in addition to that, we provide training on leadership, negotiations, succession planning for the small mom and pop type of organizations, to marketing and social media. Here's some others. Value stream mapping, OSHA. When COVID-19 hit, we were on our website. We were very closely aligned with the various the counties in the state, and the cities and the chambers of commerce, as well as the state capitol in Sacramento. So we provided a one-stop shopping source for a variety of information during the height of COVID. How to protect employees, PPE, where to get it. We actually even helped supplier sourcing, people that were pivoting their manufacturing to stop making something else and making masks. So we're heavily involved in that type of thing. And then software skills, presentation software, accounting software. So as you can see, we provide those kinds of areas of assistance to small and medium-sized manufacturers where they might not have that type of knowledge or skill inherently right now. And the good thing about that is that as the MEP, designated MEP for the state of California, we have also access to California state funding sources to help pay for that thing, those kinds of services. So again, just to reiterate, not only can we help bring the solution 9 times out of 10, or maybe I shouldn't say a number, but many times we can leverage state programs to help pay for those services and trainings. So how do we deliver these services? Well, CMTC has various internal delivery resources in the form of consultants to actually provide those kinds of trainings or services. But we also have a stable of external third-party delivery resources throughout the state. As I mentioned, state programs. One happens to be called SBTAEP, SB TAPE. You can see what it means. You can actually put that acronym into a browser and see exactly what it is. It's a California state program under the governor's office called GoBiz. ETP is another program. This is in line with the state's desire to help improve the skills of our workforce. So it's workforce development. So all of you people that are thinking of starting a business, the SP tape funds are very flexible. They could be used to maybe develop your website or search engine optimization or social media or that type of thing. Or it could be some combination of that and training. ETP is a very powerful program that often can pay the lion's share, if not all of the costs of training your employees on a variety of different skill topics. So as I mentioned, during the height of COVID, we were, and it's continued to be, very closely linked with state resources, city resources, county resources. And so we did provide one-stop shopping for that kind of information and still do. It's regularly updated weekly on our website. We also do webinars ourselves on a variety of topics. If you were to go to our website, you would be able to see our calendar and what types of other useful webinars that we're offering and when. So, and they're free to attend. And this is a little bit about the impact of the MEP network. There's no cost for our services. Basically, our services are paid for by taxes. So finally, some benefit from paying into the system. But this is the kind of impact that we have typically. This was 2019, but as you can see, we've really helped our states manufacturers. How many we've helped, we've impacted jobs, we help increase sales, or we help reduce costs. And those are all the kinds of things that we do for our states manufacturers. And the only thing that we need, because we are working under NIST, which is under the Department of Commerce again, is a survey. So if you start a company and you call on me to assist you, there's no cost for my services. There, depending on the programs that we can plug you into, there might be some cost sharing, but there might not be. It sort of depends. But at the end, all I need is your consent or buy-in to do a survey, a 12 question survey. It'll take you 10 minutes to fill out. And so that's really the only thing we need from our clients. We collaborate throughout the state. There are 15 other client advisors like myself throughout the state of California, but we also partner with secondary organizations that work under us as subs to all further reach out to the manufacturing layer of our state. Yeah, some of the LAEDC, other county and city offices, associations and agencies, and so forth. So that's pretty much, I just wanted to give you a very brief overview on what we do as the MEP for the state of California. I'm very interested, myself and my colleagues, in helping our state's manufacturers. So if we can be of any assistance to you, please note my contact information. I may not be your ultimate advisor because we tend to be geographically assigned. I happen to live in Culver City, but I will get you to the right person. So feel free to reach out to me. So with that, I thank you very much for the opportunity to present. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. I appreciate it. I can speak with my experience with working with MEP and CMTC in the past is that they defy the adage "you get what you pay for," because their experts are truly that, experts in the field, and you are able to get their resources and their knowledge for oftentimes next to nothing, just because of the resources that they're able to tap into. So it's a pretty incredible program, and it's surprising to me that it's not more well known amongst entrepreneurs in manufacturing, especially in aerospace, because I just think that a lot of aerospace companies could really benefit from using their services to get off the ground. So thank you, Craig. I appreciate your time and your presentation, and telling everyone a little bit more about CMTC. So now we're going to move into some questions and answers. If anyone has any questions, you can submit them into the Q&A chat, or you can raise your hand and we can give you permission to speak over the microphone to ask your question directly. So go ahead and submit your questions now. And while we're waiting for those, Daniel, I have a question for you personally. If you could just speak a little bit more about your experience and kind of the process of moving from your military life into the private sector. What maybe you found difficult, what was easy, what you wish you knew then that you didn't know. Maybe just any kind of tips or tricks, because I think that that's a transition that a lot of people, especially in aerospace, try to navigate.
Absolutely, and I'm also I run a nonprofit called the U.S. Veteran Business Alliance, which does just that. It takes veterans and teaches them what they need to know about being an entrepreneur, and really what it's not about. Entrepreneur is another Silicon Valley sexy word. What it is small business ownership. If it gets to be a big business, then grand, that's wonderful. But what you're trying to do is just be able to fend for yourself rather than go off and start working for a larger company. So I think the military in general, I'm obviously passionate about the Marine Corps, but the military in general provides an awful lot for you. You don't have to worry about how to dress. During COVID, that transitions nicely. But you don't have to worry about housing, food, insurance, all these different aspects, which seem pretty self-evident. But when you do it for a while, I've talked to general officers who are like, "Man, I did not think it was going to be like this." So there is that aspect of you're in a bit of a bubble, and you are provided for so that you can take action or do whatever it is your job is in your branch of the service. But I think what it does provide for you, I was talking about, those skills that it takes to put on an amphibious operation. I always tell people, especially engineers, like, hey, I can talk you through an auto rotation of a helicopter or even an amphibious assault, but you want me to design an aircraft for you, I'll be hard pressed to do that. But I do know that those basics that I was talking about, blocking and tackling, being kind of intellectually curious, always asking why, and keeping that main thing the main thing, those kind of things are absolutely essential to success, certainly in a small business or a startup type of a business. You've got to work an awful lot harder if you start up your own company, because if you're working for someone else, they're also supplying some level of life support that you don't have to worry about as a startup. What about, well, I want to give my employees a 401k, or I want to cover myself with insurance. All those kind of details, you just sign up for the company plan typically, but you've got to figure those things out. How do I make a payroll for somebody? Thankfully, there's been so many companies out there that have come about with the digital age that really provide tremendous amounts of support in those things. It's not as hard as it used to be, but there are things that you just don't have to do in the military that you do have to do elsewhere. Where am I going to get my insurance? I already have that answer. So it's fun and rewarding, but it's always going to be hard work.
Just like you said, focus on the details, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Well, thank you. We did get a question from an attendee. This one's for you, Craig. Their question is, what's the smallest company in terms of people size that MEP or CMTC can help? So maybe if you want to answer that question by giving maybe a I don't know if you have general requirements or needs that you need to get out of a company before you're able to sign up to help with them.
Well, again, they just have to be a manufacturer. We work off of NAICS codes, NAICS codes, and so they have to be in the 13,000. I think the NAICS took over from SIC. That's the older format of that. But yeah, they have to be a manufacturer, and really the smallest companies, it can be one person. I have several clients that are one-man, one-woman companies. And just to digress just a little bit, really what we do is we talk to you. If you're interested in CMTC services, and any MEP will do the same thing. They'll ask you questions. We're almost like a doctor. Where does it hurt? Where are you competent, and where do you feel incompetent? Where do you think the needs are? And through this Q&A process, we sort of find out what need areas where we can help you. We prioritize those things. And then it's not like we just arrange something. This is all very professionally done. We determine how many hours the service is estimated to take. We figure out which funding source, if any, of the state sources are available to help offset funding of the cost of those services. And then it's a actual statement of work. It says, this is what we're going to do. This is when we're going to do it. Deliverables are clearly stated, and there's a contract. This is what we will do, and this is what you can expect. So it's all very professionally done. Everything's in black and white. There's nothing left to question. So again, if we can be of any help to you, and you're a one-man person, one-woman organization, give us a call. You just have to be a manufacturer. That's it. One person is minimum.
Awesome. Thank you, Craig.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel, I saw that you read one of the questions you got in the Q&A, or one of the comments you got in the Q&A. I'm not sure if you wanted to respond to that.
Yeah, I'm just figuring out this format. So when it said answer live, I thought that I was going to type something back, but somebody talked about who they should be listening to. Yeah, there's plenty of naysayers out there, and I would say that just hearkening back to that my previous statement, just know yourself, know your stuff, and make sure you're constantly intellectually curious, and don't quit.
Awesome. Thanks, Daniel. Another question, Craig. Does CMTC and MEP help foreign nationals working in the U.S. so long as the company is based in the correct region?
It's never come up, but there is no citizenship requirement. If you're a manufacturer in the state of California, at least for CMTC, we will provide assistance. So just like if you're in the state of Nevada or the state of Utah, the MEP for that state helps all manufacturers. There's no qualification or citizenship or prerequisite for that at all.
Great. So that's different than from a lot of the grant funding or some SBIR funding that might be available to startups to get some resources and development going. So it's a nice avenue for, I guess, anyone that is a foreign national working in the U.S.
Yep.
We also got a question that's a bit of a broad question: how to get funding for an aerospace startup as an undergrad. I'll start with this one a little bit. As an undergrad or college student, you have access to more resources and funding resources than you will ever have ever again. I personally think it seems like every major research university, and even the non-major ones, have some kind of accelerator or launch pad or incubator program that really it's a matter of finding out what is available at your university, finding out who's in charge, and then putting a pitch together, because most of those events require you to just do a pitch and then get selected and then do your pitch 100 more times. So if you're an undergrad, the first step you're going to want to take is to look at the programs that are available at your school. Look at the different funding avenues you have through there. And then, you know, I'm sure that, Craig, you don't have any requirements where, you know, if there's a student business owner, I'm sure they qualify for CMTC assistance so long as they're a manufacturer still. But you know, to get your feet off the ground, no pun intended, I would say, you know, start with the resources available through your school, and then once you know, have more of a business idea and a direction moving forward, is when you're going to want to start to pull in some of the consulting resources and expertise, you know, say through MEP or CMTC, because, you know, they'll be more equipped to help you if you know what your direction is and what you want moving forward. So I don't know if, Craig, you have anything to add to that answer. Nope, you're on mute, Craig.
It's amazing how many companies I am contacted by that have been in business for multiple years that have no business plan. And so that's one of the things that, you know, a relatively successful small entrepreneur or small business manufacturer says, you know, I've been doing this by the seat of my pants, but I really do want to have a plan. And so we actually can provide those kinds of services, strategic business services, to help. You know, they would really get down in the weeds with you and ask you, you know, well, this is your business and where do you want to go, and what, you know, and then actually help you derive a business plan. In that case, it's more like coaching. But yeah, you know, we do those kinds of things. So I think the best advice that I can give is, don't assume we can't help you. I would ask that you give us a call, let us find out and figure out by together where we can be of assistance to. There might not be something we can do, but really the only thing that we don't do as the MEP for the state of California is provide legal assistance or advice. You know, we don't do accounting, but we can certainly provide those kinds of services. We also provide HR services. We're not a staffing agency, but we help source C-level and senior level people. We can do employee handbooks for you. We can do HAT training or harassment avoidance training, I-9 certifications. You know, so we do a lot of different things. So try us. I don't think you'll be disappointed.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it. So I have no more questions in the chat, or and no one has their hand raised at the moment. So last call right now then for any questions for Craig or for Daniel. I don't know if either of the two of you have any final parting words before we move on to the raffle and then wrap it up for the evening.
Nothing from me.
No parting words, but talk about serendipity. Mr. Tomato, I'll be in contact with you. I was just on a call today looking for some manufacturing capability. There might be some small companies out there that we might be able to engage with. So, hey, thank you very much for everything.
Yes, you're welcome.
You guys did it. I appreciate it. And good luck to everyone.
Thank you.
Well, great. Thank you to our panelists. I appreciate your time and your insights. I think we had a great event here. You guys are welcome to hop off or stick around for the raffle, but we're now going to move on to the raffle for two $50 Amazon gift cards. So just one moment. Okay. And our first raffle winner is Gianna McLaren. So Gianna McLaren, if you will send an email to my email address, which should be displayed on the screen right now, then I can make sure to get you your Amazon gift card. And now the second raffle winner is, the name is just Jesse in the participants list in the Zoom. So Jesse and Gianna McLaren, if you will send an email to my email address that is on the screen right now, stating that you were one of the raffle winners, I'll be sure to I'll be sure to get you your Amazon gift card in the next day or two. So awesome. Thank you very much to everyone who attended. Again, a recording of this video will be sent out to anyone who RSVP'd for the event. So keep a lookout for that video, and I thank everyone for attending, and I encourage you to attend our third session of this topic, which will take place next month in December. So thank you very much to everyone. Bye-bye.